Right guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are going through my top 10 NBA players of all time. Now these are the best players to ever play the game, and again, a lot of this is very subjective where I put people on a list, so please don't get angry at me if I don't put your favourite player at number 1 or whatever you want, or I miss someone out. This is just a bit of fun. I'm making videos before I go on holiday tomorrow, so I'm just trying to get everything done as much as possible. As you can probably still tell, I'm also quite ill as well. My voice hurts a lot, so I'm going to try and be speaking a bit more quietly today. So I'm sorry if that affects the quality of this video. So I'm just going to get into my top 10. I'm not really going to give stats on why I think they're top 10, but it is what it is. And this first one a lot of people won't agree with, but I have put Shaq at number 10. Now, Shaq is one of the most dominant players of all time and one of the most fun players to watch of all time, from my perspective as well, because I have seen him play quite a few times. But I just think that, I don't know, it's hard to explain why, because these are the top 10 players of all time, so they're obviously the best players of all time, so you can't really find many faults other than personal preference with this. Shaq was an amazing player and he was the most dominant player of all time in my opinion. The way he could just score as many points as he wanted is insane to me. He's one of the funnest players to watch. As I said, I love big centers and watching them play and how they can manipulate the game with their size and their power and stuff like that. And I just love watching Shaq so much. He's also one of the funniest people on the NBA channel and stuff. I love watching them a lot, and even seeing his commentary now and his opinions and stuff, he's really entertaining to watch. So I have put him at number 10. Moving on to number 9, I've put Steph Curry. 4 rings, he's got a finals MVP, he's got a unanimous MVP. He's literally he is the best shooter of all time. So how can you leave him off this list if he is the best shooter of all time? Curry is obviously, I've seen it firsthand how upsetting it is to play against him. He's almost unstoppable. Nearly everyone everyone on this list is pretty much unstoppable. There's no way to stop these players from scoring against you and doing whatever they want. If they're having a good night, they're unstoppable. And Steph Curry is the best shooter of all time, and that's not really up for debate anymore. I love Steph Curry and everything he does. I'm a massive Steph Curry fan, even though that kind of hurts to say after what he did to us in the finals, but I am a massive Steph fan, and he might even win a 5th one or a 6th one now after going on to win that last one that he won against the Boston Celtics, which still hurts my heart today. Right, so I'm recording this around the day, just after, the day after Bill Russell died, and Bill Russell came in at, I think it's number 7, I can't really remember where I put him on this list. I wanted to re-record this because I didn't think it was really right leaving it on, just talking about how good of a basketball player he was. He was a great human being and one of the best basketball players to ever play the game and revolutionise the game in so many ways. And Bill Russell, even though I never saw him play, he meant a lot to the foundations of basketball and really revolutionised the game, which I love and watch almost every single day now. And I loved seeing him in interviews and talking to all the players. He seemed like a really great guy, and it's really sad. It's a sad day for basketball, and yeah. But Bill Russell, one of the best basketball players to ever play the game, and honestly, there's so much you could talk about with Bill Russell. There's a great podcast on the Locked On podcast, the Locked On Celtics podcast, by John Corrales, which if you want to learn more about Bill Russell and a lot more in depth from someone that knows him a bit better, knows his life a lot more and can tell you stories about him, you can go and listen to that podcast on Spotify, on YouTube, on anything really that the podcast is on. It's the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's really good. And if you want to learn more about Bill Russell, there's loads of videos on the internet of him, about his game, of interviews with him, and he's a great man. So I just want to say thank you, Bill Russell, for everything that you've done for the sport and the world as well. You'll always be remembered. Moving on to 7, we've got Tim Duncan, Mr. Fundamentals. Just played like such a robot, but at the same time it's so beautiful to watch. And I think I have said this before on this channel, that the way he played was so mesmerising and so scary, because he played like a robot and you knew exactly what he was going to do, but then you couldn't stop him. He was so technically good. Like I can't even think of another word to say how amazing he was technically. He was so good at nearly everything he did. He played exactly the way basketball is taught and was amazing at it, and won, I think it's 5 titles. Forgive me if I get that wrong, but I think he has 5 titles in the NBA. One of the best players to ever do it, and I loved watching him play. I didn't watch that many games, but I've seen him quite a few times. But I love Tim Duncan so much, and he's such a great player to watch. Coming in at number 6, now 6 and 5 are a toss-up for me. Being as I'm a Celtics fan, I think you guys know who I'm putting at number 6. I'm putting Magic at number 6, the best point guard of all time, could literally play any position on the court. Some of the passes he would do was insane, and he was so good, like so good. And him and the battle that he had with Larry Bird, I may as well talk about them together, right? At 5 I've got Larry Bird. I loved watching these two. Like, I haven't obviously watched them in an actual, like, current time, because they played in the 80s and early 90s and stuff like that. But when I used to watch, like, old clips of them and old games which they played in, like, they're so fun to watch, and you can see how the rivalry developed between two massive organisations to win everything. And Larry Bird is one of the best shooters of all time. Magic is, in my opinion, the best point guard of all time. It's honestly the best rivalry, in my opinion, in NBA history. That is the best rivalry, Magic and Larry. Like, even though I wasn't around for it, it will never be topped, in my opinion. Just like the way people talk about it, the games that I've watched, it's crazy to see that period of basketball, and it looked amazing. And I really do love Magic and Bird so much. They are like cornerstones of the sport. Like, when you think of NBA players, then if you think of Larry Bird, you think of Magic, and if you think of Magic, you think of Larry Bird. Like, two of the most synonymous players to ever play in the NBA, and two of the most... It's just... I can't explain the battle which they had, but even being on the outside and watching it and looking at the stats and stuff and how they played, it's what seems like one of the best rivalries of all time, and it must have been fun to see that at the time. The Lakers being as good as the Celtics, where in other periods of time hasn't especially been the case. It's either been one's dominant and the other's not really. So it's amazing to see that between the two conferences as well. Moving on to number 4, now I'll put Kobe. I love Kobe so much, and people might say that there are better players in history than him. I just grew up seeing Kobe and watching Kobe play a bit more than like other players such as Magic and Bird. I loved watching Kobe play, and he means a lot to me, and everything that he did, his mentality, how he wanted to play the game, he has such a great mentality and such a great work ethic that I really aspire to have. That is the kind of way I aspire to be. And Kobe outside of basketball was really inspirational for me and probably a lot of other people. So even outside of basketball, he's one of the most iconic players of all time, and he really does deserve everything that people say about him. He is one of the best of all time. He's one of the best role models for everyone to watch. Like, even me as an adult, I think he is one of the best role models that anyone can watch and learn from. The way he played the game and the way he always wanted to improve and be the best that he could ever be, even at a young age, is one of the best things to ever see in basketball. And I know I went on a bit of a rant there, but Kobe does mean a lot to me. Even though he's a Lakers player, I think everyone can agree that he is one of the best of all time, and even though he's a Lakers player, I love him with all my heart, and he's one of the best players that ever played the game. Moving on to 3, it's Kareem. Now, I've made several videos on Kareem and some of his teams, such as his Bucks teams, such as his Lakers teams. This guy played for such a long period of time, it's crazy. His longevity is one of the best in the NBA ever, especially playing in the time period he did play in, like the 70s. It's crazy to see his longevity. I think he won a title with the Bucks, and then he won a title with the LA Lakers 15 years apart. How? He had such a great longevity. One of the best scorers of all time. I think he scored 1 3 in his career, and he's still the top point scorer of all time. LeBron will probably catch him at some point, but for now, Kareem is honestly the best scorer in the NBA's history, and it's hard to compare him to anyone because he's so good. I just don't understand how a player can be so good over such a long period of time, and he is very iconic for that period of time, in my opinion. I love Kareem a lot, and I wish I did get to see him play a bit more. I've watched a few games where he's played in, not many where he's been in his prime, so it's a bit of a shame, but Kareem is honestly one of the best of all time. Moving on to LeBron James at number 2. Now, LeBron, a lot of people could put at number 1, I just don't agree. Even though I've seen LeBron kill teams, like literally dominate teams, such as my Celtics, it pains me to say that he is the second best player of all time. But he just is. He's going to overtake Kareem in points eventually. He will. He's got the longevity to suit it. I think he's got 18 All-Star appearances in a row. And that was in his 3rd year. I think he got his first All-Star appearance. So he's been in the league for about 20 years now, which is just insane. Like, I love LeBron so much. And even though he's destroyed my teams, he's just like, it's weird to say because I heard this argument from Ray Allen that what he was asking fans basically, what is LeBron James the best at to be the GOAT? And to be fair, he's not the best at anything, but he's at least the top 5 in nearly every aspect of basketball. Like, he's top 5 in everything, whereas some players might lack the defense. Like, some people may say Steph lacks defense. LeBron James doesn't lack basically anything. LeBron James is elite at every single component of basketball. That is why he's in the GOAT debate, because he's so dominant and is so well-rounded as a player, and people disrespect LeBron a lot. And when we look back on him in about 20 years, people will be saying LeBron is the GOAT over MJ, and that is a debate which is totally fine. It's not clear-cut anymore. LeBron is such a massive player that people could argue he's the GOAT. But MJ at number 1, in my opinion, is... Like, I've watched so many MJ games, not obviously loads, because I wasn't born in the 90s and the late 80s and stuff like that, but I've watched so many MJ games where he's just been so dominant and so ruthless. We talk about Kobe's mentality. MJ has a similar mentality where he wants to win no matter the cost, and we've seen this in documentaries such as The Last Dance, where he's wanted to win no matter what the price of winning is, and I love that mentality and always wanting to win. He got to the final 6 times, won it 6 times. Like, what kind of mentality is that? Like, he's honestly one of the best players of all time. Well, he is the best player of all time and the GOAT in my opinion. There's not much more you can say about MJ other than what he's done as a player and what an amazing player he was for the sport that elevated it to a higher level to where we know basketball is today, where someone from England, halfway across the world, from America where the sport is being played, I can talk about basketball and have a somewhat informed opinion on some of the best players of all time, watch games and be interested in the game of basketball. MJ is the most revolutionary player of all time and so synonymous with the sport. He might be the only basketball player some people know, but that's what I mean. He's elevated basketball to such a level where he has to be the GOAT, because that is the difference between LeBron and MJ in my opinion. Everyone knows who MJ is, and everyone knows that MJ is is the best of all time, and he has shown basketball to a larger group of people and made it so it's worldwide and it's amazing and it's a worldwide sport. But that is the end of the video, guys. I know in this video I was just talking about how great everyone is, but what else can you do when you're talking about the top 10 players of all time? But this is just an opinion for me, and there is a dog barking outside, I bet you can probably hear that. But I'm just going to end the video now, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate you. Thank you so much.